A developer linked to construction of Amazon's headquarters in Cape Town is being accused of fraud. The Koring High Corner Council alleges that the developer has been conspiring to muzzle opposition to the 5 billion rand project. Khoi leader, human rights defender and convener of Save Our Sacred Land, Tariq Jenkins, joins us now for more on that. Tariq, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Suppose the conversation starts at the point where in the courts there's been this back and forth and dispute about who actually gets to speak for this community. Has that been settled?
Well, thank you very much for having me this evening. This has been an ongoing dispute that emanated as soon as the process of public consultations began to emerge. What we've seen in this case is how the council that was leading the fight against the development on environmental and heritage grounds was ostensibly dismantled through what we would call a coup d'etat or a hijack, where individuals posing to be leaders of the council had submitted affidavits and filed for a rescission application against what was a historic ruling by then Judge Goliath, halting the development. Just to rewind back a little bit and provide some context, the application that was initially brought to the High Court, it was done in conjunction with the Gorin Aikona Khoikhoi Traditional Indigenous Council, that in its affidavits were representing a vast number of interested and affected San and Khoi councils, as well as the Observatory Civic Association. There were two parts of this application, Part A and Part B, which is the review. And Part A was basically to ask for an interim protection order. That initially interim protection order ask was successful, and then that was appealed. And what we are doing with this particular application is to rescind the decision that was made against Judge Goliath's ruling, to reinstate that decision based on what we believe is fraud that has been committed by the respondents in this case, which would include the developer and some of his colleagues and some of the San and Khoi leaders who were involved in this episode.
And why do you believe your prayers to the court are going to be successful?
We believe they will be successful because the affidavits that have been submitted by a number of whistleblowers clearly outline the set of circumstances whereby we have sufficient evidence to prove that there was a calculated attempt to undermine the council with specific aims to delegitimize myself and the Gorin Aikona Council, because I had held the power of attorney in the matter, and in order to basically quell all opposition to this development, and so we are confident that our submission is correct, and we look forward to seeing justice on this matter.
So you are saying the claim that the council was for development or was for modernization is not true. It was not a true representation of the council. It was a fraud that was being committed by the developer with some stakeholders who were in cahoots with the developer.
Absolutely. You would know that the Gorin Aikona Council has been adamant from the very beginning, from as late as 2017, in terms of our stance against this development. It was quite astonishing to see how affidavits were being submitted by former members who would claim that they did not support the development and knew nothing about the court case. We feel that the reasons that were provided to the court, which led them to making the decision to stop and reverse the ruling by Judge Goliath, was done on the basis of fraud.
And what would be the implications, therefore, if the courts would not find in your favor? I mean, there are, of course, legal consequences, and there are other implications that come with that.
Of course, in any court matter, we submit our arguments, and we are waiting for the papers of the respondents, and it is indeed up to the courts to decide. We feel that it is very important for us to hold the line in this particular instance. It really does open up a very dangerous precedent in terms of how environment, terrain of significance in terms of the historical value and heritage, both tangible and intangible, heritage resources that belong to indigenous communities, and in particular a site like this, which is of very real and extraordinary significance on quite a few levels. Yeah. That we stand to defend it, but also that a great injustice has been done. We see the kind of divide and conquer mechanisms that have been deployed, and these are age-old mechanisms that we also need to, fight against and overcome.
So the Goring High Corner Council, you would rather have this project not go ahead at all?
I think the point at this stage is that the project was done without our consent. It was also done without the consent of about 70,000 people who had faced various objections. Historically, this piece of land was sold for 12 million rand. This is 15.2 hectares of private property and a large clubhouse which has now been demolished. Under very dubious circumstances in 2015 by then Transnet to this private developer. And then within a month we see how the property is then given and is valued to about 100 million. And then after that, overtures of 3.2 billion rand. And one of the key things that we know is that overnight, once you rezone a property which could be public open space into multi-purpose, the value of that property, exponentially increases. Yeah. And this is when we look at the role of the Municipal Planning Tribunal, we look at the role of the City of Cape Town and Western Cape government, who we believe also, trampled over their own policies in order to greenlight this particular development. And so in order to get to that part of the review where we feel we have very strong evidence to prove that there was irregularities performed by these by the supposed regulatory authorities, for example, Heritage Western Cape, which is the Heritage Authority, had completely rejected the Heritage Impact Assessment of that was produced by the developer, and the city's own environmental department had also objected to the environmental plan that had been, a package of plans that had been submitted. So we feel that there are a number of reasons why this development must be objected to in terms of democracy, in terms of public interest, but also in terms of our collective history as Africans on a site that has been slated to UNESCO for a potential World Heritage Site, and also a site that we would like to see a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for the Southern Khoi. This is a site where a number of very pertinent historical activities emerged. Jan van Riebeeck put up his infamous Pega paint, which basically started the forced removal of indigenous people. It prompted the first Khoi Duck War in 1659, which precipitated over a series of wars of about 180-year period and resulted in what is still today the unrecognized a genocide of the Cape South. And there are a number of very important intergenerational issues that need to be addressed in our country. And until such time, the San and Khoi are placed in the center when it comes to the notion of restorative justice and transformation, the idea of the African Renaissance will forever remain at its nascent stage.
Derek Jenkins, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Human rights defender and convener of the Save Our Sacred Lands organization.